see this. This might look like the fancy new key from the latest Volkswagens, but it's actually a key from a Skoda. Specifically, this new Skoda. Now this is the 4th generation all-new Skoda Octavia, which is the brand's latest car to hit Singapore. It actually goes on sale this week. Now, a bit of history here, but the Octavia was the first car that Volkswagen and Skoda did together after the Germans were sort of invited to buy into the Czech Republic's national car company, and that's after the fall of communism. Now, I remember that car well. It was launched all the way back in 1996, and believe it or not, I was there for that. I remember that for being very much like a Golf, and that's not surprising because it was based on the Volkswagen Golf, but I do remember it for being very spacious, especially in the back. Well, all that's history. Let's find out what the car is like today, and let's start by taking a closer look. Now, the first place you want to look when you have a look at any new Skoda is the headlights. Now, you might have heard of Bohemian Crystal. So in the Czech Republic, they have this sort of, tradition of making crystal, and that's something they try to evoke for the cars. So the headlights are always very jewel-like and very sort of crystalline, and they're a nice sort of feature to look at in themselves. As for the rest of the front end, something common with the other Skodas today, slim sort of grille, very crystalline, and a sort of a very neat appearance. Now, the thing about this car is, even though it's based on a VW Golf, you would never sort of look at it and say, well, that's a VW Golf. It's not just a badge engineered car, so it's got its own set of proportions, and I think Skoda has a very distinctive design language, very neat, and nice character lines, and a good sense of proportion. And as I mentioned before, with the earlier Skoda, some of the best bits about the car were in the back. So come closer, I'll show you what I mean. Ha! Did you see that? Nice bit of animation there. So not just crystalline, but lively as well. But what I really wanted to show you was not that bit, but this bit. Okay, let's wait for it to stop beeping there. Don't know if you can see this, but it's actually enormous inside here, very deep, and very it goes all the way in. I don't know what the word for that is. Now, Skoda's tagline for Singapore is simply clever. So you've got things like this sort of clever hook for your grocery bags, and if you want to fold the rear seats, you just tug that and down they go. 600 litres in here and expandable to 1,555 litres. What's interesting for Singapore is that for the very first time, the Skoda Centre Singapore is going to bring in the Combi or station wagon version of the Octavia, and that's even bigger if you can imagine. Great for dog lovers, and apparently there's been a lot of customer requests for them, so I hope to see lots of those. But something else that's interesting is this electric tailgate. And Skoda might be sort of thought of as a budget brand somehow, but if you ask me, it's starting to get quite posh. If you follow me inside the car, I'll show you what I mean. Okie dokie, here we are inside the new Octavia. Let's have a look. Straight away you can see digital screen and very nice cockpit, but let me just get the aircon going here. I mean the engine, of course. Now, digital screen means you can of course change the displays according to how you like them. Everything's very crisp and very clear. Something I really like actually is this 2-spoke steering wheel that all the latest Skodas have. Actually, seems like quite a nice and quirky touch. But I think the thing I really want to show you is the central touchscreen. It's called a Bolero system, and you can see that the dashboard is actually very neat now. They've kind of wiped it clear of buttons. There's only, let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8 physical buttons, and everything else has migrated over there. Now, according to Skoda, they've made this very much like a tablet or a smartphone to use. So let's see if that's true. You'll be able to customize these things, of course. So let's say I want to add or delete functions. Let me just try and see what that is like. I haven't had much practice with this, so hit the pencil there. Okay, you can add a screen here. And, okay, so I can add functions that I want to have on hand and have it really customized the way I like it. So let's put vehicle there, let's put telephone there, and let's be annoying and put something here. Yeah, okay, so you can be as annoying as you like and have it as a sort of custom looking as you want. Something I want to show you as well is Apple CarPlay. Notice actually my phone is not actually hooked up to this, so it's wireless CarPlay. And all I have to do is actually climb aboard and it'll be able to do that sort of mind meld between my iPhone and this. I have to say, Android Auto, you still have to use a cable, so it's time to switch to the cult of Jobs. I love how Apple CarPlay works, of course. All my podcasts and stuff are here, but let's Move back out here. Some of these switches, let's have a look at what they do. This one calls up the aircon controls, very important here in Singapore. Driving modes, so you know, okay, of course I gotta leave it in sport, right? I mean, why else? How else would you have it? Everything looks really nice. Oh my gosh, I'm dying to pull this off right now, but I might not resist. Okay, let's look elsewhere down the cabin. There's a wireless charging tray here. I could put my phone here and put some juice into it. A couple of USB-C chargers. This is quite interesting. This is kind of a drive-by-wire or shift-by-wire gear lever. So all I have to do is, as long as I'm on the brake, I do this and that, and it does change gears. Classy touch, and you know, obviously it frees up a bit of space. Looks good, and this is something you'll find in Audis and the latest VWs. Oh, this is surprising. There's a cover for the cup holder as well. Why is that surprising? Well, actually, if you go to some like sort of French cars, you know, they don't have those things. And even if you look at the latest VW Golf, it doesn't have this thing. So that's a nice sort of traditionally sort of classy touch. And I have to say, actually, the rest of the car does look very appealing, at least to me. They don't do the sort of wraparound cockpit thing, so it feels very much like this is a family car. And as I'm sure my cameraman can tell you, there is a lot of space in the back. Okay guys, now the last thing I want to show you, you must be wondering what we're getting here in Singapore. Well, I can't really see from here, but I'll tell you, it's a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo with 150 horsepower. Sound familiar? That's also in the latest Golf and in the new Audi A3. So you might know from those cars, this has cylinder deactivation, so you can cancel 2 cylinders if you're sort of on part load. It also has a mild hybrid electric vehicle system. So it's got a 48 volt sort of starter generator, and that allows 2 things. Number one, it allows prolonged shutdowns at the traffic lights, and whenever you start and stop the engine, it's actually much smoother than, you know, with a normal starter motor. The other thing is, when you're sort of cruising along the highway and you're off the gas, the car slips into neutral and it just freewheels and the engine can go to sleep. And that's because it can restart again, just like that. So now that doesn't sound like a lot in terms of fuel savings. It apparently will save you something like 0.4 litres per 100. So every 1,000 kilometers you drive, you'll save 4 litres of fuel. So why bother? Well, actually, because this makes the engine clean enough to get the car a pollution tax rebate of $15,000 here in Singapore. And if you're wondering why there's no 1 litre like there was for the last model, it's actually the same reason but the other way around. Apparently that 1 litre engine would have been in danger of attracting a $15,000 penalty. Apparently it's more pollutive, so that would have been a $30,000 swing if you think about it. So really the 1.5 litre engine is the one that makes the most sense for Singapore right now. Further down the line, well, who knows? And of course there is a Octavia RS coming, so you know, the driving fans should look forward to that. But for now, this is what we have to tell you about the latest Skoda Octavia. If you want to find out more, please check out carbuyer.com.sg for our launch piece, and then very shortly after, when we drive these things, we'll be doing our reviews. Meanwhile, stay safe, give us a like, smash that follow button, subscribe, and we'll see you again.